I'm Aryeh Schwartz, along with Eli Horowitz, and welcome to the WNBA Insider Show. Each week we cover various topics important to the W. Using X's and O's along with key stats, we bring honest and critical analysis. This week, special guest Aneela. Aneela has been covering women's basketball for over 3 years and is a well-respected voice in covering such. We could very easily cover many different topics with you, Aneela, but for this show, we're really going to focus specifically on the 2018 mock draft and a little background of why. I know as we went through, and we being Eli and I, going through this offseason at NCAA tournament, we both really paid attention to your mock drafts, and we took it a lot more serious than, let's say, some of the more big name sites out there or names out there. And we really like the in-depth, and you, in fact, Eli's told me many times that you even shaped his thoughts on a few players and convinced him to move them on our mock draft and on his kind of player profiles. So we really were honored that you join us and discuss your mock draft. So why don't you say hi to the folks, and then we can just kind of hop in on your final version of the mock draft.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Aneela K. On Twitter, you can follow me at @hoopsblogger. And basically, I've been covering women's basketball, like the WNBA, college, the Canadian national team for about 3 years now. And to start off for the 2018 WNBA mock draft, well, I did many versions, and the final one has the number one pick as overall as A'ja Wilson, and she's going to the Las Vegas Aces. Then I have Kelsey Mitchell. She's a guard. She's going to the Indiana Fever. And then Diamond DeShields, who can play either the guard or the forward position, to the Sky. I have the early entry from Connecticut. Sorry if I mispronounce her name. I'll try my best. Azurá Stevens from Connecticut, who's a forward, to the Sky. And then I have Jordan Canada, guard, to the Storm. Gabby Williams, a forward, to the Dallas Wings. Victoria Vivians, a guard, to the Washington Mystics. I have Lexi Brown going to the Indiana Fever, who's also a guard. Kia Nurse, the Connecticut product, to go to Connecticut Sun, number 9. And number 10 to 12 is where it kind of got interesting. At this point, I was just looking for the best available and the best who I thought was still out there. And that's where Maria Vadeeva came in, who's a center from Russia. And I picked her to go to New York. And then I have Monique Billings, a forward from UCLA, to go to the Sparks. And the 12th pick is Marie Gulich from Oregon State, and who's also from Germany, to go to the Phoenix Mercury. So that's just the first round.
I noticed that there was a little bit of difference between your first version, your second version, and I believe we're on to even 4 for your final version. I wondered, if you could kind of expand on what went into the ebbs and flows of each player on this. And again, you're not just doing the first round. You got the first 3, you got all 3 rounds on it. So, just a little background on what went into your mindset for deciding where players are going to go.
Well, in the earlier versions, I was just looking to get a sense of where players were, because a lot of it is that especially during the NCAA tournament, when players are put on this big stage, a lot more attention is put towards the seniors, the draft prospects. So the coaches start to notice certain tendencies. So in the first one, it was just about seeing who was the best at that point before they start the tournament. The second one was after the first round, which is the round of 64 and round of 32. And then the third one was when we had the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. And then right after that, the last one, it was just after the Final Four. And the reason why it changed so much is because certain players started to really stand out. They really started to show themselves differently. And other players who we thought were going to be in the first round dropped, like their stock dropped. So that's why it changed.
Somebody that I've been very high on, Kia Nurse. I noticed looking through your draft prospects, and she had a great tournament. She's somebody who didn't move at all. So that's kind of the flip side. I'm curious, as far as Kia Nurse, do you think, I don't want to, well, why don't you just give me your take on why you didn't move her around that 9 spot?
Well, because I got a lot of interesting theories on this because a lot of people were like, "Oh, but Kia Nurse has done so much for Connecticut. She, has become a great defender. She's like has great size. She can shoot the ball. Like she would be great earlier." But I felt at that point that she was best for the Connecticut Sun. I felt like she would fit in for that team. And I just didn't feel like moving her up because I don't think, in my opinion, that she is like a better draft option than all of the other players ahead of her. I feel like the other players ahead of her have this one thing that makes them stand out that I couldn't move Kia Nurse. So that's why she stayed at 9.
I definitely hear what you're saying. I gotta agree on that. I mean, she definitely doesn't have the flashiness of a Canada or even Lexi Brown or what we've seen from Victoria Vivians. I mean, you have a huge amount of talent coming in before her, so I think it's really a situation of how there's only so much that she could do on a UConn team that has Gabby Williams to really move up in this draft because it's such a stacked draft. Is there anybody who in this first round, or I guess in the second round, let's move on to the second round, not necessarily looking too in depth on it. Is there someone who in your final projected second round kind of stands out to you as someone who might earn a spot as a starter in the next few years?
Taylor, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Taylor Scarfi from Rutgers. I'm going to have her as like the 7th overall in second round to the Mystics. I just feel like her game is suited for the WNBA level, and a lot of people haven't gotten the chance really to get to know her game. And she's actually, I would say, very good. She has a very good shot at making any of the training camp rosters, whoever team she ends up, because as we all know, the draft is so unexpected. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if she'll get drafted in second or third or whatever. So I feel like she has a good shot. And I also like Lauren Goodwin. Right now I have her going 8th to Phoenix, but that could change again. I just feel like she has good size. I feel like she proved herself in Oklahoma State this year. I feel like she set herself up well for the WNBA draft. So I feel like she could also be one of those people to watch out for. And as for now, and then Ariel Atkins, even though I have her in the second round, she could also go early first round. So she's also a guard that you could keep your eye on. So for now, those are my, I guess, sleepers or people to watch for.
So I looking at a couple of your different versions of the draft, I noticed that Jordan Canada and Lexi Brown, I mean, more so Lexi Brown, but Jordan Canada and Lexi Brown both shifted a little bit. Can you talk about, I mean, I think everybody knows Kelsey Mitchell, and Canada kind of cemented her name in the headlines over the tournament. Can you speak a little bit more about, the 2 point guards who, besides Kelsey Mitchell, are the top point guards or top guards in this draft?
Yeah. So Jordan Canada, we'll see coming into the tournament, a lot of people thought she would be a top 10 pick. That's nothing wrong. But when she hit the court for the NCAA tournament against Texas, I believe, and that's where I felt like, you know what? She's making a name for herself because she just kept attacking the rim. She was fearless. She became this leader that you need in the next level. And so that's why she moved up, because before that, I think I had her like lower. And as for Lexi Brown, what I really like about her game is that she's not only is she a good guard, she's a really great defender, and you really need that in the next level. She's got great size. She can shoot the ball, and I feel like she would do also well with the Dallas Wings or whatever teams she ends up being drafted to. So that's why they moved up or moved in different directions.
So somebody who's been getting, at least on our end, a lot of attention, and I think some more people are starting to kind of pick up on her, not that we started the trend or anything. Her game has just been mind-boggling all season. Vivi, as I'm calling her, because I'm always worried about butchering people's names. Victoria Vivians, what do you think? I mean, forget team that she would fit on well. What do you think her prospect is going into the W?
It's really good. A lot of people are high on her. I don't think she's a top 5 pick, but I have her as like top 7, and the reason why she's really good is she's got the size that you need. She's improved her shooting, her outside shooting, her defense. There's a reason why Mississippi State had the year they did. If it wasn't for Victoria Vivians, they wouldn't have gone as deep as they would have. So they should. I think Victoria Vivians is so intriguing. I'm excited to see what she brings to the WNBA, and if the Mystics end up selecting her, and everybody already knows why there could be an inside track, is because her. The Washington Mystics head coach is Mike Tebow, and then his daughter, Carly Tebow, is the assistant coach for the Mississippi State women's basketball team. I'm sure he knows more about her game than any of us do. And so that's why I had her as high as I could, because I felt like the other top 5 just had a notch more to give than Victoria Vivians. Not to say that Victoria Vivians isn't great and she's going to be a really great player. I just felt like she's still a top 10 pick, but she's not a top 5 pick.
No, I hear you on that. I mean, somebody who has played as well as she did and really transformed her game, and I completely agree about how she carried the team. I think it's interesting that, at least from, again, bigger names out there, a lot of people who were just watching the tournament kept noticing Tiara McCowan, and not really as much as I think that she deserved credit for it. Vivi wasn't getting enough of the credit. And then you start hearing from people who are scouting for the W and for the draft, and that's when you started to hear her name a lot more, because I think people were paying a lot more attention to specific players, kind of like you were talking about. As you get later in the draft, the coaches are starting to focus in, because these are the players who are available, unlike the NBA, where someone might be able to say, oh, this freshman over here was looking really good in the tournament, and now we got to keep our eye on them. Also, in the women's league, you have a lot more, at least narrow focus, because there is a much more limitation on who can go pro. Talk to me about Maria Vadeeva.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Maria Vadeeva is a talented prospect out of Russia. If she weren't international, she'd be the number 1 pick because of how young she is, her experience, and she's played against the WNBA and international players. And so therefore, if it weren't for her commitments to the Russian team, to Eurobasket, she would be number 1. Because of her size, of what she can do, she can go out in the perimeter, she can go score inside, she can do so many things, and she's so young, so that she has more room to grow than all of the 21-year-olds or 22-year-olds who've already kind of developed into their game, into their bodies. So that's why a lot of people would have had her number 1 if it weren't for her international commitments.
So my thoughts on that are quite simply, do you think that it's feasible for a team that maybe has somebody who isn't as young as her at a big, these are just examples, not saying realistically, but Sylvia Fowles or Brittany Griner or even, someone who has like a Liz Cambage in Dallas. Do you think that she could possibly be a better fit? I'm just talking fit now. Could she be a better fit there just because of those overseas commitments and the lack of knowledge on how much you're going to have her, at least in these early seasons?
I guess so, because I would assume that whoever's going to draft her is going to have a need for her, because I don't see her coming. I don't see her coming to the league unless she is guaranteed. I guess it's not necessarily like a starting spot, but like a spot on the team. And if she's going to be put against, if she's going to be on the same team as those. Teams, I don't think she would come over. I think you need a commitment from her, and I think you need a commitment from the team, whoever drafts her and has a need to put her, not necessarily as a starter, but someone that you kind of rely on. Because I don't feel like she would come. I don't think she would come over to the WNBA, because remember, she's making. In the EuroLeague, you're making way more than the WNBA. Let's just be honest. So I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, that's a great point. The amount of playing time obviously often is overlooked, or the amount of role or the size of the role that you're going to have, I think, is often overlooked, especially when you're talking about players coming from college ball into the W. Because especially, looking at teams who are the 2-time repeat finals teams, the Sparks and the Lynx, those teams don't have a lot of minutes for young players. I mean, even when you have a player like Weiss last year, who was dropping, what was that crazy game where she like nailed a ton of threes, and then we didn't see that many minutes from her afterwards. So great eye on that. Another thing I want to talk to you about, Diamond DeShields, someone who, I mean, let's not get too much. I really hate getting into the off-court stuff, but I want your thoughts on just in general, that goes into effect if you're going to be picking that player with a top 5 pick. And skill set wise, I don't think there's a question she's a top 5 pick. How do you think that, like, what's her draft value with everything included?
To me, she's a top 3 pick because what she can do on the floor, what she can bring, what she can still grow, she can still get better, and I feel like she is going to go top 3 regardless of her. What we've heard over the years about her off-court stuff that I don't really want to get into, but I just feel like skill-wise, she's top 3. I just feel like she has so much to offer, and I feel like Chicago Sky head coach Amber Stocks is really high on her. I mean, she did go to Turkey for her, to visit her, to scout her in December. So, I mean, that's a pretty good sign when a GM comes just to see you. In a different country. It's not like we're not talking like I'm taking a plane to or even a bus to like a different state to go see you. No, I'm hopping on an international flight for you. So that's how you know I'm interested in you.
Yeah, I'm also underrated. And when a coach is willing to make that type of commitment, that says a lot. And I think, again, ignoring off-court stuff, if you're a player who's a top talent in the draft and who's been playing overseas professionally, you kind of want to get courted like that. You want a little bit of a red carpet because you understand your talent. And also, she is somebody who chose to go pro, and that decision was kind of, I don't want to say was confirmed, but was patted on the back because she's been able to deliver overseas. Well, that kind of brings us to something, in my opinion, we've been beating around the bush a little bit about Azura Stevens. And again, apologize if I butcher the name. How does she's someone who declared for the draft, not late, I don't want to say late, but she declares for the draft after the tournament, and she kind of tossed a lot of stuff to the side and made people kind of have to restart evaluating tapes and reevaluating the value of everybody else in the draft. We had players who were basically shoo-ins who now aren't shoo-ins to be a top 5. What are your thoughts?
Well, Azure Stevens definitely shook up my draft, and I know a lot of people's others draft as well, because of what she can do. She's 6'6". She has the potential to score from inside outside. She has future star potential. And I was really shocked when I heard that declaration, because people told me who are like no Connecticut or something, that she's not going to declare that she's going to go for another season for Connecticut, especially after the way they ended their season. So that was surprising. I was just shocked as everybody else was. And the reason why there's kind of like a little difference between everyone on where she goes is because she's so talented. She could go second, and Pokey Chapman could select her, or she could not select her. She could go with Kelsey Mitchell, whatever her choice is. And so that's why she's going from either 2 to 3 to 4. I do think, though, that if the Sky pass up Azure Stevens, then the Dallas Wings are set, because I don't see Seattle giving up on Jordan Canada. I think they're pretty set with her, but that's why there's so much difference between everyone. Because personally, I would want her second because of what she can do. But I know it's not up to me, right? It's up to the general managers and head coaches. And they also all have all this information, and they obviously know more than we do at this point. So, besides that point, that's why in my final one, I changed it and I put Kelsey, because I felt at the end that Pokey Chapman probably really wanted Kelsey more than Azure Stevens, even though Azure Stevens is talented and can do so much.
And that's the thing I was going to bring up. So way to defend yourself before I even attack. Because I was going to say, I noticed on your drafts that Stevens, shifted from 2 to 3 in a little bit. And my thought is the same. She has that talent. She could go number 2. Honestly, I wouldn't be that shocked. And I know this is like a wild, outlandish idea, but I wouldn't be that shocked if she went 1. I don't think she will. But just because of her flexibility as far as her abilities to do things. I mean, the woman can ball, and the woman can do so many things on the court. She may be, and I know Eli said this a lot, she may be, as far as flexibility on the court, the next Elena Deladon, the next Candace Parker. That is a legitimate possibility at her size and her skill set. But how happy are you, if I can get you to put on your GM cap, how happy are you if you're the Seattle Storm and the Dallas Wings that Stevens declares for this draft?
You're really happy because you get a talented player regardless, and all of the talented players just move a notch below, and you catch some of that draft gem your way, whoever it is.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm not sure if you know this. Eli and I have both been a little bit critical, if you will, of the trade that sent the Minnesota Lynx number 12 pick out to Phoenix. Can I get your thoughts on? You don't necessarily need to have a comment on if you think it was a good trade or not, or your trade grades, but I do want, knowing that Stevens is in this draft and the rest of those talented players who were projected to go early are pushed down a little bit more. Do you think that that changes your personal opinion about whether or not it was a good trade?
No, I don't think so. I think the Lynx know what they were doing, and so that's why the trade happened. And I think Phoenix, as a result, is a lucky benefiter, whoever the 12th pick is, because they're getting a one talented player more than it was before Azure Stevens declared. So, I mean, if you're Phoenix, you're happy, and if you're the Lynx, well, then you just wait and see what happens this season.
So I know we're kind of going around on our time now, so I just really wanted to give you a minute to kind of plug your site and plug the hard work that you do. So, Aneela, why don't you let everyone know, remind them where they can find you on Twitter and Facebook and all the different social medias.
All right. Well, first off, my name is Aneela, and my Twitter is at WHoopsBlogger. So it's a WHOOPS blogger. And I blog on wbasketballblog.wordpress.com. And basically, I just blog about overall things, like mock drafts or thoughts on the season or anything that comes into my mind. Regarding the WNBA, college women's basketball, the Canadian national senior women's team, and whatever miscellaneous things I can find. So that's where you can find all the good stuff from me.
Awesome. And we really want to thank you so much for joining us and for the awesome conversations we've been having over Twitter about this draft and the things moving forward. Again, folks, this has been the WNBA Insider Show. I'm Aryeh Schwartz, along with Eli Horowitz. We cover different topics each week using X's and O's, along with key stats. We bring critical and honest analysis.